Carl here from Metal Wani, and this evening I have the great pleasure of hanging out with someone who is not only one of my favourite composers and piano players, but also one of my favourite personalities to talk music with. From his explosive keyboard playing in Dream Theater to a long line of spellbinding solo albums, it is my great pleasure to once again introduce none other than Jordan Rudess. And Jordan, as I said, it is wonderful to see your face so soon again, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the nice introduction. I appreciated that.
Always, absolutely. So the last time we spoke back in March, you said to me that when people start to hear the new Dream Theater album, they were gonna freak out. And recently I had the great privilege of listening to a view from the top of the world, and Jordan, you weren't kidding. So I just want to take a moment and congratulate you and the guys.
You freaked out?
I freaked out, my friend. I freaked out. I was like, he was on the ball. It's so good. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. Glad you like it.
Love it. And with the new album on the way, you've been feeding fans with singles like The Alien, which I understand is kind of a sci-fi influenced piece examining life on Earth from an extraterrestrial point of view, from my understanding, and Invisible Monster, which deals with how anxiety can kind of plague a person. And on the surface, there's a little bit of a dichotomy as far as the subject matter on these two songs. So I was wondering, to your mind, is there a common theme or thread that links not just these two songs, but links all 7 songs on this record to one another?
Not really. These songs are it's not a concept album, that's for sure.
Okay.
It's more of an album of individual songs, kind of, where we're at the moment. And so there's not necessarily any tie-in between one song and another, other than maybe people being in the same kind of general headspace when they're writing the lyrics, because it happened over in a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. Not the lyricist, but I would say that I know that all these lyrics were written over, let's say, the course of a few months, and so anything that's similar might just be this is where the current state of mind is.
Mm-hmm. Get you. Cool. I was nicking at me, so I had to know.
Yeah,
and
right.
I listened to you and the guys talk about the making of this record, and you briefly referenced those times when, as a band, you guys are writing, and it's inspired by the moment and through jamming. And while everyone else might be rooted in a particular section, you said that your mind is racing, and you actually have to kind of take a step back from that moment, because you're already kind of considering what might happen in the next one, exactly where the journey of a song might go next. And I was wondering, was this a regular part of the writing process for you on this record, or as a writer in general? Are you usually thinking big picture, or where do you kind of go? I've never actually
okay, that's interesting that whole topic. I mean, when I'm in the studio with Dream Theater, we're writing music for an album, I do tend to think ahead a little bit, trying to get together whatever it is at the moment we're doing, but thinking ahead because we do a lot of writing right there and then. Mm-hmm. It's not like somebody just comes in with a tune and we just learn it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like we're bouncing ideas and we're going for it, and we're just kind of inventing it all while we're together. So in order to kind of somebody's got to come up with the next part. I mean, it's got to be composed. Right. So I'm doing this. I'm thinking, oh, wow. I certainly want to come up with something that's going to happen next as a possibility. So often I'm playing this part while I'm maybe writing down an idea for the next part. And then I can say, hey guys, what about this? Nobody blinks. It's not where did you come up with that from? No. Well, as you were playing that, I actually wrote this, anything. It just kind of flows and happens. And, one idea basically does lead to another. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just happens quickly. And sometimes it's more you have to stop the action and kind of go, okay, well, let's see, what do we do? Let's hunt and pick, for something else to go after it. But interesting that you said the big picture, because the big picture is not part. The big picture is, what are you creating? The architecture of the thing. Mm-hmm. And luckily I'm in a group that has always thought architecturally. Mm-hmm. I mean, I certainly have my own abilities that I lend to the group that everybody's aware of. The architectural side is not necessarily in my specialty, But it is a specialty of other people, you know. So like thinking about, okay, well, we did the A section, now we do the B. Well, we probably need a, you know, pre-chorus, and then let's go into the chorus. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to write, you know, I'm ready to do it. But like as far as figuring out which, like, kind of assembling the parts, that's like that's another element of it. That's another specialty, really. And it's another thing that Dream Theater has always been very like into and aware of. Even though the song forms get so big, like, you know, in an epic song which goes through a million changes, you think, oh, what's going on? Like, you're going this way, you're going that way, always. But there's always some concept of how one part goes into another, although it could often seem, you know, really, really crazy.
A little bit. And yeah, there are epic songs on this record for sure. And, you know, when we last spoke, you had just completed the LTE record, and our conversation had a lot to do with the anticipatory excitement surrounding that. But you had also just released A Chapter in Time, your solo album. And about a year prior to that, you had celebrated the 20th anniversary of Scenes from a Memory. And that's a lot of musical output. And I wonder if any of that, whether it's LTE, your solo material, or even revisiting a different era of Dream Theater, if any of that was like still swimming around in the back of your brain while writing A View from the Top of the World, and more specifically, would it ever inform the writing, you know, if it's still there?
Yeah, a good question. Yeah, I would say absolutely. I mean, you know, we can't kind of like there's no reason to completely separate the headspace from one project to the next. I mean, you know, I did Chapter in Time. That's certainly a very different kind of music. That's very like kind of, you know, gentle, mindful, healing. You know, it's got all these other kind of properties that music is great for that I was after on that. But then you know, having that experience and then going into the next project, certainly that some of that stays with me, and I learned something from it. You know, so, and when we did the LTE sessions, I think we kind of like experienced a lot, learned a lot. We went into the Dream Theater sessions after that. It was kind of like, okay, well, we have the benefit of having all that experience in this chapter in time. Of you know, of doing recording and composing, and one, you know, like for example, one of the things we kind of like opened up to or learned for the Dream Theater album was that, hey, you know, we can take our time a little bit. We can let the leads stretch out. We can let things breathe and just be fun. And I think a little bit of that coming from LTE, rolling into Dream Theater, since it was John and I in LTE and kept going with Dream Theater, helped to shape kind of like some of the dynamic, or, you know, and how the music was flowing.
Right, get you. Thank you so much for answering that. And, you know, obviously I could talk to you about just Dream Theater all night, but you're aware I love your solo work as well. So I wanted to make sure I ask you, or have the opportunity to ask you some questions around that, because when we spoke back in March, you told me a story that has since become one of my favorites of the year. And it was how you had kind of accidentally released A Chapter in Time.
Oh, right.
Which came out on Bandcamp and is also one of my favorite records of 2021. I make no secret about that. But now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that you recently finished working with Fernando Perdomo on some collaborations, and now you're set to embark on making a new solo record. Is that correct?
But you know all this stuff. You don't miss a beat.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I'm so happy to be writing that.
It's awesome. Let's see. Fernando just invited me to play on something that he's working on. I guess I'll let him announce that when the time comes for the details of that.
Sorry.
But I didn't know Fernando at all. So getting an invitation from him to work on something was cool, because, like, I don't know if you know him, but interesting dude, very nice, you know, just really kind of cool. So that was really fun to work on something with him. So we'll find out about that soon. And then in other news, you know, now that the Dream Theater tour was postponed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But it does give me some time to think, you know, about what's next for me personally, because I have this unexpected, you know, period of time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to start working on another solo album for sure.
Awesome.
Something fun, cool, not piano, something more in the rock vein, I think.
Cool.
It's time for that. So to let my Prague hair down.
Amazing, because what I was going to ask is, with A Chapter in Time, I remember you described it to me as a purely musical diary that, you know, captured and even negotiated a lot of what we were feeling during the peak of COVID with lockdowns and so
Absolutely,
on.
yeah.
And I wonder now if there's a feeling or experience tantamount to that, you know, one where you already are, the one that you're already made aware may inform this new solo album, or is it a blank slate entirely? Is it a blank canvas right now?
Yeah, it's a pretty blank slate. I mean, I know, well, I've got a couple of ideas I haven't really sat down to start yet, but any moment I'm just going to go in there and start going crazy just doing this. That's always the hardest part. Getting any project for a creative person is the hardest thing. Mm-hmm. Kind of get it going. Like, what is it? What's the first note? What's the first measure? Or the first riff, first page, first song? Once you get in a swing of things, okay, well then you're going. But yeah, I'm not totally sure until I walk in there. I'm just going to start writing some music. I know what it's not going to be. I know it's not going to be like mellow or like piano music. I know it's going to be, you know, more rock, kind of like, you know, that the Jordan rock style, if you will. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. This is the time.
I'm excited for it, Jordan. And, you know, I appreciate that you said I never miss a beat, and I may end up undoing that now, because one of the things that I've been kind of trying to follow with yourself, and despite my research, can't you know, I'm still feeling a little in the dark, which is you've teased Atom, Ultra, Capsule, and you're making this migration to is it NFT Nifty Underground? Is that the platform?
Right.
And yes, I'd love to know more about what I'm hearing there. That would be really cool.
Wow, this is a whole new world, and it's really an interesting world. Let me speak totally creatively for a minute.
Please. Yeah.
You know, NFTs is something that came into my life over the last year or two. And I think, like a lot of people, we started to hear about this stuff. We're like, what the hell is that? What does it mean? And you know, you find out a little bit about it, but you're still wondering, what is it? What's going on? And so there's a lot of questions about it, and a lot of development and a lot of changes that are happening. The way the NFT thing came into my life is I have a nephew who's very big into the whole blockchain thing, cryptocurrency. Okay. Called me up one day and said, hey, Jordan, like, I really would love to do something with you in this whole NFT space. And so I let him tell me about it. And at the same time, a guy I used to work with over at Rourke years ago also contacted me and said, I'd love to work with you on something really cool for NFTs. So to make a kind of longer story short, I connected the dots. I connected the people, my nephew with my friend, his name is Heen, in the UK. And everybody started to talk. And then, creatively speaking, I was like, wow, NFTs. And I started to look at them. And so a lot of the things I looked at were like visual kind of things, like really cool visuals that people were making, selling as NFTs. And I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity to do something that's like audio and visual combined, which is what I love. Mm-hmm, yeah. So I remembered that I had a wonderful contact some years ago with a guy named BJ Fader, who did some visuals for Dream Theater. I found him and I arranged for him to do a bunch of cool stuff for Dream Theater. And so I reached out to him again and said, hey, would you want to work on an NFT with me? So we started to work on this idea, and I didn't exactly know what I was getting into at first. I knew that I wanted to work in a shorter kind of form factor. Mm-hmm. I didn't need to write a whole song. I needed to write something that would go with a visual that would be ultra cool, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so I went into the studio. I started working on this dense kind of thing. Dense meaning a lot of tracks that went into making the sound that I got. And I was having a really great time doing it because I was using all my cool software and wearing like headphones and really fine-tuning all the panning and the filters and the little sounds that happen, little munchkins you hear floating by, you know, all the different things that made up this sound. And then VJ made the graphics for it. So the creative side is that this NFT thing that people have been hearing about is allowing me to do some things that I haven't done really before this way. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited about it because it's really cool.
It is very cool.
It's awesome. So I wrote this main kind of like bit, like, I don't know, it was 30, 40 seconds long. And I thought, okay, this is like the main thing. And then through kind of like thinking about what would be cool about this, I started to work on, well, like you can call them remixes, like taking maybe one or two of the tracks and adding different things to it or redoing it or changing it. And I was like, this is really, really cool. I started to get really, really into it. And then, of course, the visual has to change a bit too for all of this. So, and then in working with my nephew and my marketing partner in the UK, we started to come up with all these ideas about how to almost gamify the whole thing. So, okay, so now talking about the business side, which just let me say right out, I'm not a businessman. I got into this because I thought, wow, it's like a really cool chance to be really creative and possibly, and I say possibly because I just don't know, get some income for another side of who I am that I really care about. So, from a business side, yeah, we're doing this. For me, it's a total experiment. Putting this out, doing the best music and visuals that I can, and we're going to see. And I'm learning about it. You know, like just like everybody else. What the hell is an NFT? Like, what is it? What's interesting to me is that I see a lot of people online that are saying, "Don't do that." This is about the environment and this and that. A lot of people have very strong opinions about the whole, I guess, cryptocurrency NFT thing. Sure. And I find it really fascinating. But let me say this. So like the beauty of the way that I'm doing it with NFTs is that I'm able to work with my team and create exactly what we want. Because I'm not doing like one of the services, like what's it called, like Foundations or OpenSea or any of these things where you have to kind of fit into their format and go by their rules. As part of my team, I've got a programmer and a business guy and a marketing guy, and all together we can kind of create what we want and build everything into this digital file. Like all the royalties, for example, go into the file. So anytime it's transferred, bought, sold, it's automatically sent, like all the money that comes from that is automatically sent to the right place. So basically what that means to me is that you really are cutting out the middleman. Right. And these files remain like structurally intact and everything about them will kind of remain true for the life of the file. It's a really cool system. And a lot of people think that NFTs and that whole digital kind of way to move things around is the future of the music business. And I don't know that it is, but I don't doubt it.
Wow.
Because look at what happened. We were on vinyl, we were on CDs, you know, we're doing digital stuff, so like iTunes selling for $1 a pop and, you know, kind of streaming, and now we're at NFTs. So I'm there, I'm playing the game. And again, you know, mostly caring about the creative point of view. If I make some money from it, that'd be amazing and helpful. But for me, it's like, wow, I can do some really cool stuff here. I can offer stems. I can do all these cool things, and let's play.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it, because now I'm educated as well for the next time I hear it.
We're all continuing to get educated about it because it's interesting. You know?
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've only got a couple of questions left for you, because I know we talked Dream Theater, we talked your solo stuff, and I just love to pick your brain in general, as you probably gathered now. And, you know, to start, you know, for anyone who may be unaware, you studied at the Juilliard School of Music, and I know some of the other guys met at Berkeley and so on. But what I love is that you guys, who would go on to be some of our most prolific progressive musicians that we have today, once studied in these places, and now you have the Dream Theater Scholarship Fund, and you have bands like Neobliviscaris being studied academically in some of these places, you know. And it got me wondering, if you could choose any song or any album, artist from any genre and include them as part of the national curriculum, what or who would they be and why?
Wow. Okay, so let me make sure I understand this question. So you're saying, like, of all the music I've heard and all what I've experienced, you want me to choose something that would be so important to them?
Yeah. Is there anything you felt should be studied, should be looked at, should be heard by everyone at any level?
Wow. Well, I mean, it makes me think of like the first album that really like changed my life so much.
Yeah, right? Great.
Which might be something for other people to hear, just out of interest or curiosity. But for me as a keyboard player, it was really, really important. And that was the Emerson, Lake and Palmer Tarkus album.
Ah, okay, cool. Very love it.
And the reason that it changed my life is because I had never heard coming from a classical place, I'd never heard the kind of power that Keith Emerson with his keyboards and his band could put out there. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like I knew about the harmonies and the rhythms and all the chords, but hearing that, I was like, oh my God, you can do so much with that kind of like rock spirit and that energy. And it kind of gave me kind of like the strength to say, you know what, I'm going in that direction. I'm going to do that.
Love it.
So I left Juilliard and I went totally into like, progressive, electronic, all my stuff, and took a while to figure out, but finally kind of found a path and met these guys called Dream Theater and started on that road. But the Tarkus album was really amazing. And actually, just as a side note, I was the one doing an interview with Rick Wakeman today.
No.
From my Patreon.
Today?
I have a Patreon.
Yes,
today.
I do.
Earlier. So as part of my Patreon, every month I interview different artists.
And that was today.
So the artist I interviewed, like you're interviewing me, I interviewed Rick Wakeman.
That's cool.
It was really fun because he's one of my heroes, and his album Six Wives of Henry VIII was very critical to my growth as a musician. He came out with that album. I don't know if you know it, but it was an album that fused together classical and rock ideas with a lot of keyboard stuff, and that was a major thing for me to hear that. That and Tarkus really changed my life.
Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry if that was such a loaded question after back-to-back interviews. But yeah, no, it's fascinating to me. And the last question I have for you, and it's a simple one, but feel free to go as deep as you would like, because the piano has obviously been an integral part of your life. When I watch you play, so often you appear just completely lost in the black and white keys in front of you, and sometimes when I watch it, it's like meditative. Other times it's cathartic and it's energetic. It's happy, it's sad. It's all these things that you convey. And so, as I said, my final question is, I promise it's a simple one, but feel free to take it as deep as you would like. And what is it about the piano that throughout your life or now that you find sacred, I guess?
Wow. I love it. Great question.
Thank you.
Because the piano really is so like centering for me. It's like the core of everything that I do. If there was one instrument that like a desert island kind of thing, like what can you not live without? I would definitely choose the piano.
Amazing.
And the reason why I would is because, first of all, the piano is a full range instrument, right? And you can express any kind of harmonic, melody, bass, harmony. Everything is all there. It also is a percussive instrument because the hammer is hitting the string. So you get the impact of things. So it almost functions like, like your drum section or your bass or it's almost like a guaranteed musical outlet for any idea that I might have. If I walk over to my synthesizer and I call up a certain kind of sound, maybe it's a beautiful string sound, I could play that, it's very nice, or a bell sound, or even a piano sound, which would function very much like a piano. But there is something about like my beautiful Steinway. I have a 9-foot Steinway piano right in the room right next to me. Beautiful. And it's just so grand. This word literally, it's called grand for a reason. But I feel like anything that comes into my musical mind and my imagination, I can make happen. With all of that range, and with all the dynamics that a piano has, and with all that it implies, it's like everything is there. I mean, if I sit down in a synthesizer and I play really, really cool sounds, I kind of think, wow, this is like so awesome. And it is awesome when you're playing like these amazing sounds. But when I sit at the piano, I'm like, wow, I'm not missing anything. Yeah, it's totally cool to play lead sounds and amazing string patches and all that. It's an amazing, there's no doubt that's incredible. But I'm not missing anything when I'm at the piano. I feel like my maximum creative self because I can explore any kind of, again, harmonic idea, bass idea, counterpoint idea. I can make it really dreamy, hold the pedal and play some sounds and let them ring out while I do something. I can be like a Debussy and paint something that's very impressionistic, or I can be like a Bach and do some kind of counterpoint, or I can bang out some chords like a Beatles kind of vibe. Like you can get into so many headspaces at the piano And so that is like the widest range of musical possibilities that anything in my life really offers. And also, you don't have to think about turning it on. You just sit down, you just walk over to it. It is on already. It's ready to go. You're not going to lose your audio. You know, it's like the most advanced instrument I have.
I love that. So. That is a beautiful answer, Jordan. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know we're at the end of our time, so I just wanted to say once again, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the amazing record, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and I wish you nothing but the best for the year.
I did. Nice to see you again. I'm so glad that you like the album.
I love it, Jordan. I love it, and I can't wait.
Any favorites off of the album?
Invisible Monster, I'm loving right now. I am absolutely adoring Invisible Monster, and the title track. That title track, I feel like I've listened to it about 4 or 5 times. A View from the Top of the World, and I know it's obviously spilling over the 20-minute mark, but it's a journey. It's just such a journey, and I'm just finding my way through that over and over, and it's fascinating. I love it.
Great. You know, the middle section where it gets really mellow.
It's like its own piece, right?
And there's like a cello and a guitar. You know the part I'm talking about? Right in the center of the song. The cello is actually my GeoShred app. It's me playing.
No way.
It's me playing cello on GeoShred.
Are you serious?
I am serious. And you know, you can play GeoShred on an iPad or an iPhone, and you can get these great. Actually, it's I was so happy to use it because it's my application. That comes out under my company's name, and is really proud to use it, and also just because it sounds like really incredible. So that duet was very much.
That's so cool. Thank you. So I was not expecting to get that like little nugget at the end there. That was brilliant. Thank you, Jordan.
Here's the I can even show you the cello sound on the iPhone.
Oh yeah, check
it out. Here, so like you can play like this is kind of what I did. Let's see. It's very expressive. You can play a note and then vibrato. So when I played it on the album, I played it on my iPad. It's bigger, so it's more comfortable to play. But somebody could walk around with their iPhone and play my app, GeoShred, and play cello and saxophone and flute and oboe, and it's pretty cool.
That is wonderful. Jordan, thank you so much for that. And to see that in front of me, because one of my favorite things to watch is you on your Instagram or whatever, and just out and about with your full piano and just doing your thing. So this is great that this is audio, because if anybody could see my face, it would become a meme very, very quickly. Thank you so much for that. And A View from the Top of the World, Invisible Monster, Sleeping Giant, Transcending Time. Those are the big ones for me right now. Loving them.
Awesome.
Loving
That's great to hear. I'm very excited about this album coming out, and it's coming out so soon. Right?
I know, and you know what was super exciting for me? I know you're not coming to Dublin, but you're coming to Belfast and London, which will be close enough for me to hopefully go and actually say hi sometime. It'd be great.
Definitely write to me and let me know when you're coming out to say hi. Do you have my email?
I don't, but
I'll put it in the chat.
That would be great. That would be great. Thank you, Jordan. I would love that.
Absolutely. I'm doing it. There we go. Yeah, let me know if you're going to come out so we can say hi.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. You've just made my month. Just made my month. Genuinely, nice. You have. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, Carl, thanks so much. Nice to see you, man. We'll see you on the road, right?
I cannot wait. Yeah, Jordan, have a wonderful evening, my friend. Take it easy.
Take care. Bye now.